Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jake. You can also call me Atrocious, and today we've got another round of the second anniversary Card Festa 3v3 championships that happened not too long ago at the very end of the OP08.5 meta before OP09s were released. If a lot of you are looking for some last second practice into OP08, we've got it here for you, and this is the 3v3 team that we've got coming in to this round. We've got an interesting team on one side and a more predictable team on the other side. The blue team, the team on the right, is the more predictable team. You've got Lucci, Law, which are possibly the best two decks, and then Black Yellow Luffy, which is, in my opinion, honestly maybe the third best deck of this format, just because it does so well into a lot of things not Red Purple Law. The team on the left side, though, the left side has Red Purple Law and Lucci, as I mentioned, the two best decks of the format, but a third deck in Nami. So you already know the matchup. It's going to be Nami versus Black Yellow Luffy in this one. Going to be an interesting game. I know Nami, not necessarily a deck that a lot of people enjoy, but personally, as a Nami person, there's a lot that you can learn in this matchup. I believe even the Luffy TCG said on Twitter the other day he was thankful that he learned the Nami matchup through watching YouTube videos and stuff, because he ended up winning his treasure cup and one of the Peronas. So there's a lesson to you right there from another well-known creator in the community. But in this matchup specifically, there's going to be a couple cards that are very important for the Black Yellow Luffy side. One of them being the 5-cost Luffy that powers itself up. You can get those guys down. It's going to be extremely beneficial for you, not only to be able to put you down in life, to be able to do some baby stuff going on, but also being able to swing 8,000 power raw and draw a card, especially in the earlier stages of the game. So we're going to get into this game. I'm going to keep track of how many cards are in life for you in this one. If you're wondering how I'm fast forwarding through this, just remember that I am watching the official live stream and doing my own unique commentary for this match. If you want to watch the official broadcast, you can check out the link in the description below. So I don't know if this is a mulligan hand or a keep hand at the start, but you got a Kaya, 2 Sanji Spilofs, and 2 White Snakes. The White Snakes are very interesting, especially if the Black Yellow Luffy is going to try to swing 5, but there is no counter in hand, especially for your 2 if they decide to go a 7, 8 or something of the sort. I don't know exactly who's going first as of right now, but might need a little bit of a top deck to be able to not take life super early. But Black Yellow Luffy here now. You've got the new One Piece Day Luffy. That's that 5-drop Egghead Luffy from OP07. Beautiful artwork, in my opinion. I wish I got a playset of those, along with some other pieces like Flampes, 2 of them to be able to draw and kind of self-inflict on the life. You got a Gecko in there to bring back some babies or other cards that you may need, and also the baby Ace. So looks like the Nami is going first, maybe thinking about playing this Kaya turn 1 to be able to draw some cards and have some sort of defense that is not White Snake. White Snake is a great defense, do not get me wrong. It sometimes is the difference maker, but around this point of the game, just looking at the 2 different hands and stuff isn't really going to help you in preventing to take life. The Luffy over here, if you're wondering about this Luffy leader, that's the new 7-11 promos that came out. They reprinted and on new arts the different ST13 starter deck leaders, and so that is the Black Yellow Luffy. So the Nami going first is going to go ahead, play Kaya, go down to 38 cards in deck, going to draw 2 and trash 2. Now the Marguerite in hand, part of the new OP07 Amazon package, could be really nice, and they're going to throw away a Spada and a White Snake, valuing that Marguerite in hand, and I do like that Marguerite being in hand. That blocker is going to be the difference when you talk about a player hard playing 5-drop Luffy. It is going to be the difference between popping the Marguerite or the Kayas you love looping. So the Black Yellow Luffy is going to start off with a 1-drop right here, going to be looking for a brother, but not going to find one, I believe, or actually no, didn't find one at all. Looks like they ended up whiffing that one. I saw a couple Flampes and a Makino in there, but is going to play a Flampe with the other Dawn right here. Just checking, make sure that you do take the life first before you draw a card as part of that card text and what it says, and just going to pass it off, can't swing. So 37 cards now for this Nami. Probably just going to play this Marguerite and draw one, going to 36. That blocker is going to be there very nicely. In case you know, especially because Luffy doesn't have a lot of good 4-Dawn plays, they're probably going to do something like swing 9, right? Or they could play something in swing 7. And so at that point, since you have no Dawn, you could just go ahead and block with the Marguerite right there and get that full value from the blocker. So going to start off with 5, but taking the life and going to get a rubber band trigger. That's going to be a draw 1, trash 1. Going to get a Gloriosa after trashing the Love Mellow. You like seeing the Gloriosa after trashing the Love Mellow off of that trigger, because you just lost one of those good Kuja Pirate cards, so you're going to be able to potentially find another, maybe even find a Marguerite to play on there. They do have a gavel in hand, which is nice, but it looks like that the Flampe, it looks like they were just going to swing with 5, try to go a little bit wide, maybe small in the Nami's hand, maybe try to bait that block, but it is not going to work. And so drawing 1 to go to 33 cards. Snake Dance going to be a great one in this, and going to play the Pilaf, one of those cards that Nami players love, especially if you don't trash them. And so 2 Dawn left at this point, 31 cards in deck. They drew, I believe, a Love Mellow and an Impel Down All-Star. So Impel Down All-Star is going to be really good with that gavel. And so if you want to play complete defense in this turn, you can go ahead and use the gavel and the Spada. But the Luffy now getting some cards in hand, going to be playing another Flampe. That Flampe is going to put them down to 2 life and draw another card. Maybe thinking about playing this 5-drop Luffy that I mentioned earlier, now that they have 2 of them in hand, 1 the alternate art and 2 the One Piece Day one. And it looks like they are going to play that Luffy right there. Going to put it down, going to use that Luffy effect, pop the Kaya. I do like popping the Kaya play. It is, in my opinion, one of the most important cards and always your first choice of looping a lot of times. So going to start off by swinging this 5. You could go White Snake and go 6, right? You know there's no other attacking threats that are going to be on the field. It is going to draw the card, but here's the thing with Nami, right? You know you have a Desert Spada, right? You could use Desert Spada and you have a White Snake. You have to try to gauge what is more valuable, drawing the 1 card off of this White Snake, or maybe reordering and trying to manipulate your top deck to be able to work with. But with the Pilaf in hand before drawing another Pilaf off of the White Snake, not going to be too difficult at this point. Going to go down to 27 cards, I believe, after that draw and peel off. So looking around what they want to do with 4 Dawn left in this one, could just get like a little swing 5, I feel like, in here. Does have a Perfume Fumer, so an interesting list, and it's just gonna double peel off at this point. Say, you know what, maybe it's good to be aggressive early. I've got 2 APs in hand which have 2k counter on them, and with 1 Dawn, like, I have a gavel, right? So you do have some viability if they do play a 5-drop ace, right? That rush ace that we see in the hand, they might be able to get out of both swings with those 2Ks. So could be a very strong point in this one. None of the 5 Luffys that I was mentioning earlier, the Black Hill Luffy player, not seeing them, but ace is going to be a strong component as well as part of your game plan, right? Being able to immediately add 2 life because you played those Flampes earlier, going to get a 7,000 power rush can put a lot of pressure on Nami in specific situations. So thinking what they want to do, got 2 Dawn to one side and it looks like 6 to another side. So looking around here, I believe the Nami has about 25 cards left in deck, 4 life, doing pretty well, I feel like, at this point. You know that the Luffy not really going to be able to play 2 characters down, so only 1 character per turn, and it's just going to start off with a 7. So this could be where the 2 APs 2Ks go, or maybe the gavel. You do have that Impel Down All-Stars in hand, combos well with it, and is going to go ahead, use that gavel, go down to 23 cards at this point, and still a pretty healthy hand. Trashing an Impel Down All-Stars and a Marguerite. You would have liked to see the Marguerite, but there were way worse cards to be able to trash off of the gavel. So thinking about what they want to do now with 6 done, going to be resting 5, looks like playing the Sabo, and so the Sabo is going to draw 2 and trash 2, maybe looking for those ramp aces that I was talking about, or I'm sorry, the ramp Luffys, and going to have to trash 2 cards. You've got 3 geckos in hand. You probably don't need 3 geckos. Definitely going to be trashing one of those and one of the aces. You do have the baby ace in hand, so could see something later in the game where you play ace and then all the big ace and then play the little ace, but going to pass it off to the Nami. 22 cards left in the deck, going to be at 9 Dawn now, so 9 Dawn, a lot of Dawn to work with right here, and is going to go ahead and play Oppies. A lot of people don't actually know what Oppies does. You trash 2 cards, look at the top 5 and find an East Blue card put to your hand. You have a lot of events that are East Blue, including Sanji's Pilaf right there, which is a great card to combo off with, and one of the reasons why people love putting Oppies in Nami decks. It seems a little bit out of character being able to find either Kaya or Sanji's Pilaf when you can't do movement in your turn is so valuable. So looking to reorder, this is another key concept of Nami for anyone who does not know. You really need to know what you put at the bottom of the deck and what order you put at the bottom of your deck, right? Since your goal is to deck out, when you get to 5, 6 cards, you're going to want to know what those cards are in general. So is going to go down to about 19 cards, I believe, at this point. Still plenty of hand to go, and you're at 5 Dawn, and when you have 5 Dawn at this point and only 2 swings, really potentially 3 with a 5 drop ace, you're sitting pretty right now as Nami. No 5 drop Luffys that do the power-ups is a little tough for this Black Hill Luffy player, going to see exactly what they need to be doing at this point. It could be a situation too also if maybe the Nami, as this Black Hill Luffy player, plays Sabo, we could see them play another Oppies in the next turn to be able to find another Pilaf or maybe a Kaya, right? We've only seen 2 Kayas so far in there, but off of this Sabo, they are going to find another rush ace, so playing at least 3 of them, that's a little bit on the higher end, I feel like, when we talk about these Black Hill Luffy decks, but is going to be trashing a baby Sabo potentially, and also maybe a baby Luffy. The baby Luffy is going to go down. You have 2 other ones in hand and a baby Sabo. You've got another one. You don't necessarily need to have so many of them, and looking around here, could potentially play that ace down and then just go a little bit wide, right? That could be something that you could do. That Marguerite's still on the field, but with that, Luffy is going to just pass, and they're going to pass it off to the Nami, just saying, you know, maybe with this Luffy, I'm going to try to catch a Kaya down on the field. So playing the Oppies again, always trying to do movement on your turn, such a key thing in Nami. Going to discard another Perfume Femur and a Snake Dance. So the Perfume Femurs, we know that they play multiple of them. A lot of Nami's playing for. We have the exact deck list here at the end of the video, and looks like they are going to be able to grab something off here. Remember, the Oppies being a 1-cost character that has to trash 2 cards to be able to do the search, can grab itself if you want. So Oppies is East Blue, I believe, and then the Gavel also East Blue. So really looking at the hand right now saying, okay, what is more important? Taking this Gavel and being able to have counter, and if so, what do I discard off of this? Or maybe just having the Oppies in the next turn to be able to do even more searching. We know that they're going to get down to 17 cards in deck, about 17. Let me do a quick rewind to remember or try to count alongside with them just to double check. It was a little difficult to tell how many exactly they had left just based on the camera changing angles and stuff, but I think we're just about correct in the number that we've got, about 18 or so, 17 or 18. 17 after this right here, because you know they have to put 4 cards back. So that's 17 right there with that Oppies. interesting, maybe if they decide to play it right, you could see that played and be able to look through the deck even more, even farther, another set of cards. And now this Nami player, if they've memorized it correctly, knows the bottom 8 cards of their deck, almost 2/3 or almost halfway through their deck left. They know the bottom 8. So looking with 9 Dawn left in this one, probably no need to swing, and just going to pass, say, you know what, I have enough counter in hand to be able to get out of some swings, get through some of these cards. I'm just going to hold it. I'm going to hold the brakes. Don't need to play another OP right now, especially because you still have 4 life. That's the big key here. This Luffy has not been able to do nearly as much damage as it wants, as it draws another Sabo right here. So really a domination so far by Nami. Again, kind of telling you a little bit of the key factor of that 5-drop Luffy and how impactful it is. Going to attach 3 and swing 9 with this Luffy. Now, this is something that we see from Black Hill Luffy's playing Nami sometimes. They'll swing with this Luffy first and then use the Luffy effect to pop one of the characters if the blocker is not blocking right now. So 9, a key number, is going to prompt at least 2 cards from this Nami player. But with 9 Dawn still left, you're not really hurting a ton, I feel like. So is probably at this point where you don't want to just take a life right now, so you want to do a little bit of movement here as they're attacking. So trying to think of what the best option is, and it looks like blocking. You don't really care if the Luffy pops the piece, right? Because you've got 2 on the field, and if they decide to pop them both off 5-drop Luffys, the egghead Luffys, then you're like, okay, sure, go ahead and do that. That's 1 less Kaya that you're doing off of those. So going to pop that, find a Flampe. So still no 5-drops, my goodness. Doing a lot of drawing too, as well as this Luffy, and no luck. Going to rest 1 for a Flampe, going down to 1 life and drawing 2 cards. What does this player get? Looks like they get a 5-drop Luffy, so ended up finding it. Is it a little too late though, is the question. Is also going to find a Hiyori to be able to do this move right here. So going to take this life as the Hiyori and put something else in replacement of it. Maybe thinking of playing this ace right now. This ace, after putting maybe an ace in life, is going to give you a 2000 power boost as leader, and then also play that rush ace down. So is going to use that effect, put that guy down on the field. Now a 7/7 potentially coming in without knowing what they're going to do with the rest of this 2 Dawn. Maybe using leader effect at this point. Maybe you want to attach the 2 to lead. Go ahead, use leader effect, put that big Luffy in the life, right? That 5-drop that we were talking about right here. But just going to start out by swinging 9. So it is going to prompt this Desert Spada. The Desert Spada is going to look at the top 3 cards. What are they? It looks like it's a Gavel, Marguerite, and White Snake. Maybe thinking of gaveling right here and just thinking, okay, what card do I want to keep right now? Because of the different cards that you have, you may be able to keep that 3rd card as your top deck. So really trying to think and do the math of what is the best decision right here. So looking around in the hand, it looks like what they're thinking about is maybe keeping the Gavel. The Gavel going to be a really strong card, especially when these bodies just keep coming down, and swinging could be what they decide to do. Is going to put the Gavel as that 3rd card right there. Maybe, depending, I think they did. And so going to use 2 and use Snake Dance. Going to guarantee that this piece comes back into hand to be able to go up to 11 on that one. So with 6 Dawn left right now, you still have another 7k swing that could potentially come in, as well as a couple 6,000 power pokes. And going to start off with that 7. So here's the tricky part of what you're trying to do. You could get rid of some of the piece right here. You could decide to use some of the Dawn for like a rubber band, right? Rubber band and Gavel, kind of almost doing the same thing, I would think. Gives you plus 4,000 power. You get rid of 2 cards, but it is going to take this life. I do kind of like this life. You don't have the craziest of hands right now, so maybe just trying to find a draw 2 trigger, because especially when you're in a good spot like this Nami right here, one of the things that you want to do is you want to maximize all the cards in your deck, right? And even in your deck, that includes your life. So being able to kind of manipulate when you want to take triggers, right? This player could have easily countered out of that swing, but instead just decided, okay, I'm going to see what this life is, and is it going to potentially be able to help me? And so it didn't that time, but it did fetch them a good card that they can utilize in the coming turns. Putting the 2 life in there, those 5-drop Luffy is going to be real nice. Going to play that Marguerite to go to 15 cards just about right there. And just going to pass the turn. Just trying to draw 1 at every turn right now as the Black Yellow Luffy draws 4 turn. What are they going to get? It's an Ivankov. So the Ivankov is interesting as a blocker, something that we see a lot of times in Black Yellow Luffy, and even in the last video as well. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen that, go check out that last round video. But what does this Black Yellow Luffy player do at this point? They could play a Gecko, which is maybe why they decided to put those 2 in life, maybe to pop a blocker or something of the sorts. But especially with the Gecko, you're going to have to play over those. But is just going to play with these babies first, going to put them down, right? You would be able to replace the 2 Flampes and not get rid of any other characters. And so thinking about, wait, is this actually the best decision to do right now? It's still a little tricky right now. You're not in a great spot, but there's still relatively a chance, right? There's still a chance for you to be able to do some damage. The White Snake could be really effective in terms of depending on what they decide to swing first, right? Do they decide to swing a 5 with a Flampe or leader? Who knows? But this Black Yellow Luffy player probably not going to do that because of this baby evolution, right? Becomes 7k leader, is going to put that Luffy down right there, is going to boost up that power, and we'll see if they play the other baby Luffy from hand at this point. The other baby Luffy is going to be coming down, is going to come onto the field and make you a 9,000 power leader. Going to use that Luffy effect to bring out the Egghead Luffy and pop that Marguerite to draw another card. That card is going to be another Egghead Luffy, so no characters on the field to get value out of that one, but it is going to be interesting to see where he goes from here. Is going to be using leader effect, right, and an 11,000 power swing. This is one of those moments too, like I was saying, that you can take this 11,000 power swing potentially, right? With 4 Dawn, you would rather use the rest of the Dawn that they're committing on this 9k swing to be able to counter out of those, right? You don't want to give them too many cards. So going to start off with a White Snake, it is going to put them up 1,000 power for the rest of the turn, up to 6. And now with 14 cards left in the deck, it's just going to be a gavel, right, to get out of this attack, putting them at 10,000 power total. So getting rid of the Oppies and going down to about 12 is going to get rid of a Kaya right there. That hurts. I would say you definitely hate seeing Kayas go away off of gavels and whatnot, but is going to be able to stay out of that. And now if you want to swing with these blockers, Sabos, right, there may be potentially another White Snake that comes down, but they're easier to manage now that you have 6,000 power, right? You're going to have to commit a couple Dawn to be able to use these Sabos and swing even higher. 2 Dawn left on here. Going to use leader effect, get rid of the Gecko, put those 2 in life. The Luffy and the Ace is going to draw a card off of that Ace effect, the 5-drop Luffy effect right there, putting it up to 8,000 power, drawing another card. It is a baby Sabo, so no more evolutions, I feel like, at this point. And is going to attach those Dawn right there and swing 13, I believe now. So 13 is a little bit tricky, right? You know they could swing with the Aces if they, or the Sabos if they want to, but getting a Desert Spot and going down to 10 cards left in deck now is going to be so valuable. You see a Gloriosa right there and a Level of Mellow. They have let's see, how many cards do they have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hold on, let me double check. Yes, 10 cards left in deck. Remember, especially with those two OPs, they know what the bottom 8 cards are. So there's theoretically only 4 cards in total on the field that they don't know about, right? The top 2 cards of the deck and the 2 life that are there. They can probably make some assumptions about which ones are which just based on what they've seen right now. But it is going to be interesting to see what they decide to do with the rest of this. Going to be have to discard one off of here. So thinking about which is the best one to discard, I would say if you remember in your bottom 8 cards, if you know there's a good Amazon or Kuja Pirate card in there, whether that's a Snake Dance, a Love Mellow, or something, maybe keeping Gloriosa is a good option to even thin your cards out and know exactly what is in your deck and life. So we'll see exactly what this player decides to do. It's getting kind of close, I feel like, a little bit, but is going to put away that Snake Dance. No real characters to put on the field anyways, so the Snake Dance would only just give you 4,000 and is going to go down to single digits left in deck at 9. Gonna draw Perfume Fumer. Only great really to try to hit the gavel, so is going to start off playing this Gloriosa. The Gloriosa, looking at the top 5, is going to find that Marguerite that they knew was in that top 5 from that first search that they did, and is going to go down to 8 cards and going to know everything in the deck. So maybe thinking about playing this Marguerite right now. I don't hate this Marguerite play. It is 3'd on, it is costly, but you will get down to 7, especially if you know how many triggers that you have in life at this point. And with another gavel right there, you are just sitting so pretty, right? You have 6 Dawn left to work with. You've got 2 gavels to discard 4 cards. And then also 2 rubber bands to discard 2 more cards. So you theoretically have win in game at this point. So we'll see exactly what they decide to do. Do they have 7? Or I guess you don't actually have game at this point. I'm sorry. The cards that I mentioned were only 6 total. So you have to find a 7th card. But again, if you know what is in the life, if there's any sort of draw trigger in there, you would theoretically win. So you kind of make that gamble at this point. So pairing cards up, thinking about, okay, what can I put with a gavel? What can I get rid of? What do I not need? And thinking of playing the op piece right here. So the op piece trashing 2 cards, the Perfume Femur and the Love Mellow, is going to look at those 5 and grab a card that they want. It looks like it's going to be a Kaya. The Kaya is going to put them to 6 cards remaining. And with the Kaya, they could see the 2 cards that are there right at that point in the deck. And so all they need to do now at this point, play that Kaya, draw 2, trash 2, and it looks like their hand will be set up for the victory. Going down to 4 cards left after this Kaya. Going to be an Impel Down All-Stars and trashing the Love Mellow. All you need to do is play the 2 gavels and you've got it still with 2 life left. Absolutely insane. But that's the part of this that Nami players really thrive in, especially in a meta like this. Anytime that your deck is slow, right? A lot of these slow decks like Bonnie and stuff like that. Anel, another one. Nami really thrives off of those decks, and especially with Black Yellow Luffy, right? They really need to see their life taking, but also some key cards. And if they don't see those key cards and they have to do a ton of stuff drawing for it, they have to trash a life, yes. If they have to spend a lot of time trying to find those pieces, you can capitalize, and we saw that in the earlier turns, right? Aggressively playing Pilafs, Marguerites, things to draw through their deck and really put this Black Yellow Luffy player on a clock. So going to be a really good one to see in here. I realized the One Piece top decks entry, I think, for this is actually incorrect, because I saw a card in there. I was like, there was no way they were playing that card, and it turns out that at least here they didn't. So I will make sure to get you at least what is probably the correct deck. It looks like something pretty standard that I've seen in Nami. So the Luffy not going down without conceding, though, as we see most Japanese matches. They don't ever concede in there, even though probably not going to win. Is going to go ahead and use that leader effect. So trying to put some stuff up in the life. It's going to be 2 5-drop Luffy. So maybe thinking right here with this Gecko playing the babies, going to pop the Marguerite, maybe pop the Kaya as well to try to survive at this point. And so going to be getting rid of the Ace and Sabo right there. Going to put 2 Luffys down. Really valuing that Sabo right there to be able to say, okay, you know what? I do not want you to be able to just swing and hit for game, right? You're going to have a Perfume Femur if you want to do that. So using these Luffy effects, going to be drawing a ton of cards, popping the Marguerite first, and then now the Kaya is going to get rid of that and really telling the Nami player, okay, you need to win on your turn, maybe not swinging at them. They do have an 11,000 power swing if they choose to, and they will. Going to get that Gavel, making sure that they have 4 cards left in deck. Here's Gavel number 1 going to trash 2, and then here is Gavel number 2 going to trash the last 2. Let's see what the rest of the life was for this Nami player, if we are going to be able to see it. What are the 2 cards? Do we see them? Oh no, is he going to be hiding it? No, show us, please. I'm so curious. I wasn't taking notes on the 4 ofs that you saw. I feel like we only saw 3 Pilafs. So this is probably relatively close to what the Black Hill Luffy player was playing. And again, if you saw the last video, it's a pretty standard list, I feel like, at times here with the 3 brothers, right? You've got Sabo, Luffy, and Ace in here. We know that this player was running a high count of Ace, so probably likely that they weren't playing this Sabo, maybe not even the Kuzans in here. We see Kuzans kind of on and off in these Black Yellow Luffy decks because we know they played at least 1 Ivankov. So that is probably the only difference I would say is in this deck, prioritizing, you know, the Geckos are right, Egghead Luffy's in there as well. The Hiyori combo we saw at one point in there. We saw some Makinos in some of the draw, like 3 Brothers Bond. So yeah, Black Yellow Luffy doing Black Yellow things, just unfortunately did not find what I consider to be the key card. And when I play against Black Yellow Luffy's, the card that I struggle with the most. The one thing that I would have liked from that Black Yellow Luffy player is instead of playing so many Sabos, I would have loved him probably playing the Aces more. One thing that you can do when you play a lot of Aces, right, even though Ace is not necessarily the best card, right, and in several situations, when you have early turns when you're playing the Flampe, the Ace can be a lot of pressure to be able to narrow the hand size of the Nami. You want to try to catch the Nami at a small hand size, and so he saw a ton of these. Being able to play these down when you're not finding these Luffys, okay, it's 1,000 power less, but it can pay a lot of dividends, especially over the stretch of the game, right? That Nami player still had 2 life left at the end of that one. And so looking at the Nami list, I have switched it up for you on screen to be probably what I would say is the full list of that Nami player. Pretty typical list. I feel like we see in Nami a trend that is starting a bunch in Nami decks, and I've even seen this in OP09, is Perfume Femur. Perfume Femur, if you know me, I hate this card in Nami. I don't like this card in Nami. I think it's quite literally a worse Impel Down All-Stars if you ask me, and I refuse to play a card worse than Impel Down All-Stars, because if you're playing a card just for trigger, it feels so gross. But this Perfume Femur does combo well, I will admit, with Apis, right? Not only when you have Gavel, right? Because Gavel requires you to trash a card. Apis has the ability to filter dead cards out of your deck as well and be able to find key pieces. We saw the strength of Apis in that game to be able to find things like Sanji's Pilaf, be able to find Kaya's and other East Blue cards that are so valuable. The biggest thing, in my opinion, if you want to get better against playing at Nami, maybe you struggle with Nami, is just learn the matchup, right? Yeah, there are a couple things, like if Nami has all 4 draw 2 triggers in life, it's probably a really tough game, right? But it's the same concept as when, you know, a Lucci player finds all their geckos, right? It's that same concept of you just really high rolled in that game. But people that learn how to play Nami are better players in the game, and we see that time and time again. So don't get discouraged. Nami's not going anywhere as of yet, although I think eventually Nami will get banned. That's a whole different conversation for another day, but thank you so much for watching this. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll have the rest of the tournament here soon for you on the channel, and then some more videos in the future. I'm getting some One Piece trading card game products for free, sponsored in the future, that are actually really cool, and I think you all are going to really enjoy and be able to actually interact with a little bit. I have to double check some things, but you'll be able to do some stuff. And again, if you want to watch the entire tournament, link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. And yeah, just keep playing.